What if we could measure the progress of an entire civilization by looking at something as fundamental as energy? What if there was a scale, a cosmic yardstick of sorts, that could tell us where we stand in the grand journey of intelligence and development across the universe? That is exactly what the Kardashev Scale does. It offers us a framework, a systematic way to understand not just where humanity is now at this moment in history, but where we might be headed in the distant future, centuries or even millennia from now. This scale was proposed back in 1964 by a Russian astrophysicist named Nikolai Kardashev. He was thinking about a profound question that has occupied human minds for generations: how we might detect advanced civilizations in the universe, if they exist out there among the stars. His insight was both elegant and deeply profound. He realized that as civilizations grow more advanced and more sophisticated, they inevitably need more and more energy to fuel their progress. Energy becomes the key currency of progress, the fundamental resource that enables everything else. Think about it for a moment. From the very beginning, from powering the simplest stone tools in the hands of our early ancestors to building the vast starships we dream of today, from lighting our cities at night with electricity to potentially reshaping entire galaxies according to our designs, energy is the foundation of everything we do. Every technological leap forward in human history has been accompanied by an increase in energy consumption. The agricultural revolution required energy to clear land and irrigate crops. The Industrial Revolution was powered by coal and steam. The modern digital age runs on electricity generated from countless sources. As we look to the future, every ambitious project we imagine, from colonizing Mars to exploring distant star systems, will require even more energy than we currently have access to. Kardashev understood this pattern. He saw that energy consumption could serve as a universal measure of technological capability, one that would apply not just to humans but to any civilization anywhere in the universe. It does not matter what form the aliens take, whether they are biological or mechanical, whether they think like us or in ways we cannot imagine, they will still need energy. And the more advanced they become, the more energy they will command. This makes energy a perfect measuring stick for cosmic civilizations. In this journey, we will walk through every stage of the Kardashev Scale together, step by careful step. We will explore in detail what each level means, both in terms of raw numbers and in terms of the lived experience of beings at that level. We will imagine what technologies might exist there, what kinds of structures and systems such civilizations might build, and what life might actually be like for the individuals, if they can still be called individuals, who inhabit these advanced stages. We will try to understand not just the capabilities these civilizations possess, but also the challenges they face, the questions they grapple with, and the transformations they undergo. We will start with Type 1. A civilization that has achieved complete mastery over its home planet. This is the first major threshold, the point where a species has unified its world and learned to harness every form of energy its planet can offer. From there, we will move outward into space, stepping through Type 2, where a civilization expands beyond its world and learns to harness the total power of its star. We will explore the megastructures they might build, the way society might reorganize itself on stellar scales, and what it means to no longer be bound to a single planet. From there, our journey takes us even further into Type 3, where entire galaxies become unified under the control of advanced intelligence. We will venture into the vast scales of galactic civilization, imagining fleets of starships, networks of connected worlds spanning light years, and the slow, patient work of spreading across hundreds of billions of stars. And we will not stop there. Our exploration continues into the theoretical stages, the levels that push beyond anything we can currently observe or verify with our science. Type 4 brings us to universal scales, where a civilization operates across the entire observable universe, commanding energies and distances that make galactic empires seem small by comparison. Type 5 takes us beyond our universe entirely into the realm of the multiverse, where countless realities exist side by side, and consciousness learns to navigate between them. Type 6 operates at the level of the fundamental fabric of reality itself, rewriting the rules that govern existence from a vantage point outside all known frameworks. And finally, Type 7 exists at the level of absolute totality, transcending even the concept of transcendence, becoming something we can barely begin to think about, let alone understand. Each of these stages reveals something profound about what intelligence and consciousness can become when given enough time, enough resources, and enough determination. Each stage represents not just a quantitative increase in power, but a qualitative transformation in the nature of existence itself. As we climb this ladder, we are not just adding more zeros to energy consumption. We are fundamentally changing what it means to be alive, what it means to be conscious, what it means to exist. So settle in, relax, and let your mind wander through the cosmos. Let us imagine what might be possible as we climb this ladder of cosmic achievement. From Type 1 to the almost unimaginable Type 7, each step reveals something profound about what intelligence can become when it reaches for the stars and beyond. Type 1 civilization. A Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev Scale represents a profound and transformative milestone in the development of any intelligent species. It is a society that has achieved complete and absolute mastery over all the energy resources available on its home planet. This is not just about using energy more efficiently than we do today, though efficiency is certainly part of it. This is about being able to harness every single joule of energy that the planet naturally produces, to store it without loss, and to utilize it with perfect precision whenever and wherever it is needed. Think about what that truly includes for a moment. Let your mind wander across the surface of a planet like Earth. A Type 1 civilization can capture all the sunlight that falls on its world every single day, the vast floods of photons that pour down from the sky continuously. It can harness the kinetic energy of winds as they sweep across continents, from gentle breezes to powerful gales that race across plains and over mountains. It can tap into the immense reserves of heat buried deep within the planetary core, heat left over from the planet's formation billions of years ago, and the heat continuously generated by radioactive decay in the rocks below. It can capture the rhythmic power of ocean tides pulled by the moon's gravity, and the endless crashing force of waves driven by wind and current. Even the wild and chaotic energy of storms becomes a resource. Lightning strikes, hurricanes spinning with the power of countless atomic bombs, tornadoes that carve across the landscape. All of this destructive force can be harvested and channeled into useful work. Earthquakes, those terrifying releases of tectonic stress that can level cities in seconds, can have their energy captured as the ground shakes and transforms that motion into electricity. Volcanic eruptions, fountains of molten rock, and superheated gas exploding from the depths become power sources rather than purely destructive events. Even the subtle movements of ocean currents, the slow grinding of glaciers, the expansion and contraction of soil as it freezes and thaws. All of these tiny and large-scale energy flows are understood, measured, and utilized. When we try to express this in numbers, a Type 1 civilization would command approximately 10 to the power of 16 watts of energy. That is, a 1 followed by 16 zeros. It is an almost incomprehensible amount of power by our current standards. To put this in perspective, humanity today operates at roughly 0.7 on the Kardashev scale. We are not quite there yet. We are still in what some scientists call a Type 0 civilization, though we are steadily climbing higher. Every year, we develop better solar panels, more efficient wind turbines, and new ways to capture energy from our environment. We are inching closer to that Type 1 threshold, step by step, innovation by innovation. What makes a Type 1 civilization so truly fascinating is not just the raw amount of energy it commands, but how interconnected and advanced everything becomes as a result. Imagine cities that are powered entirely by clean, renewable energy sources. There would be no pollution darkening the skies, no carbon emissions warming the atmosphere. Fusion reactors, perhaps perfected after decades or centuries of research, would provide virtually limitless power. These reactors would mimic the process that powers stars themselves, fusing hydrogen atoms together to release tremendous amounts of energy, all without producing harmful waste or radiation. With this level of energy mastery comes the ability to control and manage the natural systems of the planet itself. Global weather control would likely become a reality. Sophisticated technologies could manipulate atmospheric conditions, directing rainfall to regions suffering from drought, or weakening dangerous hurricanes and typhoons before they make landfall. Imagine being able to steer a storm away from populated areas, or to bring gentle rain to parched farmland exactly when it is needed. Earthquakes, which have caused so much destruction throughout human history, might be mitigated by carefully managing tectonic pressures deep underground. Advanced sensors and intervention systems could detect stress building along fault lines and release that pressure gradually, preventing catastrophic quakes. Even the amount of sunlight reaching different parts of the planet could be adjusted. Massive orbital mirrors positioned in space could reflect additional sunlight to areas that need more warmth and illumination, or create shade for regions that need cooling. Nature, in this advanced stage, would no longer be something that humans simply endure or react to. It would be something actively managed, fine-tuned, and harmonized with the needs of civilization. The planet would become, in a sense, a carefully tended garden on a global scale. One of the most exciting and unique technologies that would emerge in a Type 1 civilization is the planetary scale energy grid. This would not be like the power grids we have today, which connect cities and regions within a single country. This would be a truly global network, connecting entire continents and even the oceans themselves. Imagine vast solar farms built across the world's deserts, capturing the intense sunlight where it is most abundant. Imagine wind farms on remote plains and mountain ranges where the wind never stops blowing. Imagine wave generators in the deep ocean, bobbing with the endless motion of the sea. All of these energy sources would be connected through a sophisticated, planet-wide system, delivering constant and stable power to every corner of the world. No place would be left in darkness. No community would lack the energy it needs to thrive. Another marvel of this stage would be climate engineering. With the energy and technology available, a Type 1 civilization could actively fine-tune the composition of its atmosphere. Too much carbon dioxide causing warming? Massive systems could scrub it from the air and convert it into useful materials. Temperature rising in certain regions? Atmospheric processors could adjust the balance of gases to cool things down. It would be like having a global thermostat, a system that keeps the entire planet stable, comfortable, and habitable for all its inhabitants. Extreme weather events would become rare anomalies rather than regular threats. The climate itself would become predictable, manageable, and ultimately shaped by conscious choice rather than random natural variation. Life in a Type 1 civilization would feel, in many ways, like something lifted directly from the pages of classic science fiction, the kind of future that visionaries and dreamers have imagined for centuries. There would be a seamless integration between humans and their machines, a harmonious blend of biology and technology that feels natural rather than forced. The boundaries between the two would blur in countless subtle ways throughout daily life. Smart cities would be built from the ground up, with artificial intelligence systems coordinating every aspect of existence. These would not be cities with some smart features added on top of old infrastructure, but rather places designed holistically, with intelligence woven into every building, every street, every system. Traffic would flow smoothly and efficiently without congestion or accidents. Autonomous vehicles, whether flying through the air or gliding along the ground, would communicate with each other constantly, forming coordinated streams of movement that maximize efficiency while ensuring safety. Pedestrians would never wait at crossings. The system would see them coming and adjust vehicle flow to create openings precisely when needed. Energy use across the city would be optimized continuously and automatically, with power flowing to where it is needed most at any given moment. Like blood flowing through a living body to deliver oxygen and nutrients where they are required. Buildings would adjust their heating and cooling based on occupancy and weather, drawing power from the grid when abundant and feeding stored energy back when helpful. Every light would be exactly as bright as needed, no more, no less. Every appliance would operate at peak efficiency. Communication networks would be instantaneous and universal, connecting everyone on the planet in a vast shared web of information and experience. You could contact anyone, anywhere, at any time, with perfect clarity and zero delay. Data would flow freely across borders and oceans, creating a truly global knowledge base accessible to all. The internet as we know it today would seem quaint and primitive by comparison, like comparing a telegraph to a fiber optic cable. Healthcare would be transformed almost beyond recognition. Sophisticated sensors embedded in clothing, furniture, even the air itself would monitor the health of every person constantly and unobtrusively. AI systems running diagnostic algorithms would detect potential problems long before they manifested as symptoms, often before the person even felt unwell. A slight irregularity in your heartbeat detected this morning could be analysed and addressed this afternoon, preventing a heart attack next month. Medical treatments would be personalised with exquisite precision, tailored to each individual's unique biology, genetic makeup, and medical history. Gene therapy could correct inherited conditions. Nanomachines smaller than cells could travel through your bloodstream to repair damage, fight infections, or deliver drugs exactly where needed. Perhaps most profoundly, there would no longer be a division between so-called developed and developing countries. That distinction would fade away, replaced by a single, interconnected, global civilization. Every person, regardless of where they were born, would have equal access to energy, clean water, abundant food, education, and information. Poverty, at least in the material sense, could be effectively eliminated. When energy is abundant and technology is advanced, the basic necessities of life become essentially free. The focus of civilization would shift away from mere survival and toward higher pursuits like creativity, exploration, scientific discovery, and cultural enrichment. Culture and communication would also undergo a profound transformation. With real-time language translation powered by advanced AI, language barriers would simply disappear. Someone speaking one language could be understood instantly by someone speaking another, as naturally as if they shared a native tongue. Universal internet access would ensure that knowledge and ideas flow freely to every corner of the planet, Geographic borders, while they might still exist politically, would begin to blur in practice. People would move, work, and connect across the entire planet with ease. Humanity, in this state, might begin to develop something remarkable, a collective planetary identity. Instead of identifying primarily with a nation, a region, or an ethnic group, people might start to see themselves, first and foremost, as citizens of Earth. A shared sense of responsibility for the planet and all its inhabitants could emerge. This does not mean that cultural diversity would disappear, quite the opposite. With abundant resources and connectivity, every culture could thrive and share its unique perspective with the world. But underlying that diversity would be a common understanding that we are all part of one species, living on one planet, with a shared destiny among the stars. Education would be revolutionized in ways we can barely imagine today. Instead of spending years in classrooms memorizing facts, learning might be delivered through direct neural links or through immersive virtual environments that make abstract concepts tangible and vivid. Imagine learning about ancient Rome by walking its streets as they were 2,000 years ago, or understanding molecular biology by shrinking down to the scale of cells and watching processes unfold before your eyes. Knowledge could be acquired rapidly, almost effortlessly, freeing up human minds to focus on creativity, problem-solving, and innovation rather than rote memorization. Creativity and innovation would flourish like never before, with abundant energy and powerful collaborative tools available to anyone, anywhere. Ideas could be developed and tested rapidly. Artists could create in ways previously impossible, using advanced technology to realize visions that would have been purely imaginary before. Scientists could conduct experiments with unprecedented precision and scale. Engineers could prototype and build with ease. The barriers that currently limit human potential, lack of resources, lack of access, lack of opportunity, would largely vanish. Genius would no longer be confined to a lucky few. It could emerge from anywhere and be nurtured everywhere. But reaching Type 1 is not simply a matter of developing the right technologies. The technology, while challenging, might actually be the easier part. The harder part is achieving the level of cooperation and unity required. A civilization must overcome deep-seated political divisions, cultural misunderstandings, and historical grievances that have festered for generations. It must find a way to unite humanity around common goals, despite the enormous diversity of values, beliefs, and interests that exist across the planet. This means solving some of our most intractable problems. Global inequality must be addressed. It is difficult to achieve unity when some people live in abundance while others struggle to survive. Population growth must be managed sustainably, ensuring that the planet's resources can support everyone without degradation. Most critically, humanity must avoid self-destruction. War, especially with advanced weapons, poses an existential threat. Ecological collapse from pollution or climate change could devastate civilization before it reaches the stars. Pandemics, whether natural or engineered, could spread rapidly in an interconnected world. Even the unintended consequences of powerful technologies like rogue artificial intelligence could pose dangers. Some scientists refer to this critical period as the Great Filter. The idea, proposed in the context of the Fermi paradox, is that there might be a stage in the development of civilizations where most of them fail. They either destroy themselves through war, exhaust their resources, ruin their environment, or succumb to some other catastrophe. The Great Filter might explain why we have not yet detected other advanced civilizations in the universe, despite the vast number of stars and planets out there. Perhaps most civilizations never make it past this dangerous threshold. They falter and fall before they can reach for the stars. The transition to Type 1 is therefore risky, perhaps the riskiest phase in a civilization's entire existence. It requires wisdom, foresight, and restraint at a time when the civilization is gaining immense power but might not yet have the maturity to wield it safely. It demands that short-term thinking give way to long-term planning. It requires cooperation on a scale never before achieved. Success is not guaranteed, but for those civilizations that do make it through, the rewards are extraordinary. A Type 1 civilization would likely stand on the brink of becoming multiplanetary. With vast energy resources at its command and truly global coordination of technology and industry, it would have everything needed to expand beyond its home world. Nearby planets could be terraformed, slowly transformed over centuries or millennia to become habitable. Mars, for example, could have its atmosphere thickened, its temperature raised, and water brought to its surface, eventually turning the red desert into a living, breathing world. Large space habitats could be constructed in orbit or at stable gravitational points in the solar system. These habitats, essentially artificial worlds rotating to create gravity, could house millions or even billions of people. They could be designed as self-contained ecosystems, complete with agriculture, industry, and living space. Space elevators, long dreamed of but requiring advanced materials like carbon nanotubes, could make launching materials into orbit vastly cheaper and easier. No longer would we need expensive, fuel-guzzling rockets for every trip to space. We could simply ride an elevator up into the sky. Orbital solar stations could be built to capture sunlight in space, where it is more intense and uninterrupted by weather or night. This energy could be beamed down to the surface using microwave or laser transmission, supplementing planetary energy needs. Asteroid mining could become routine, bringing precious metals and other resources back to Earth or using them to build structures in space. Asteroids are incredibly rich in materials like iron, nickel, platinum, and other rare elements. A single metallic asteroid could contain more of certain metals than have been mined in all of human history. Earth, at this stage, would be just the beginning. It would remain home, a place of deep emotional and historical significance, the cradle of the species. But it would no longer be a cage. It would be a home base, a launching point for a species ready to explore the cosmos, to spread life and intelligence to other worlds, and to begin the long journey toward even greater heights. The leap from Type 0 to Type 1 is the first great step, and perhaps the most difficult. But once achieved, it opens the door to wonders beyond imagination. Type 2 civilization. A Type 2 civilization on the Kardashev Scale represents an advancement so profound that it feels almost mythological from our current perspective, like the ancient gods who were said to command the heavens themselves. This is a civilization that has moved far beyond the limitations and constraints of a single planet and can now harness the total energy output of its home star. While a Type 1 civilization controls and manages the energy of a world, impressive as that is, a Type 2 civilization taps directly into the full power of a sun, that massive nuclear furnace that dominates its solar system. We are talking about approximately 10 to the power of 28 watts of energy flowing through their civilization continuously. This is a leap in capability so vast that it becomes difficult to truly comprehend, even intellectually. To understand just how enormous this jump really is, just how transformative this threshold represents, consider that our sun, that familiar yellow star we see every day, outputs more energy in a single second than humanity has used in its entire history. Every second of every day, the sun radiates about 3.8 times 10 to the power of 26 watts into space. Most of that energy simply flies off into the void, warming nothing, lighting nothing, wasted from our perspective. A Type 2 civilization captures all of that, or at least the vast majority of it, and puts it to use. Every photon becomes a resource. Every wave of radiation is harvested. This is not just incremental progress, not just a bigger version of what came before. This is a complete transformation of scale and capability, marking the precise moment when a species becomes stellar in nature rather than merely planetary. The most iconic and widely discussed idea associated with this level of advancement is the Dyson Sphere, named after physicist Freeman Dyson, who popularized the concept in a groundbreaking paper published in 1960. Dyson was thinking about the long-term future of humanity and realized that an advanced civilization would eventually need more energy than its planet could provide. The logical next step would be to capture energy directly from the star itself. A Dyson sphere, in its most extreme and theoretical form, would be a solid shell built entirely around a star, enclosing it completely like wrapping paper around a gift. This shell would capture every photon of light the star emits, every particle of radiation, allowing none to escape into space. Such a structure would be visible from interstellar distances, not because of reflected light, for the shell would absorb all the visible light from its star, but because of the infrared radiation it would emit. All that captured energy would need to be used or dissipated somehow. Even the most efficient civilization would produce waste heat, and that heat would be radiated outward into space in the infrared part of the spectrum. From far away, such a system would look like a warm object, glowing in infrared, located where a star should be. It would be a telltale signature of advanced intelligence. However, a solid shell presents enormous engineering challenges, possibly insurmountable ones. The materials required would be astronomical in quantity, literally. The structure would need to be impossibly strong to resist gravitational forces and the pressure of solar wind. Instead, most scientists who think seriously about this imagine something called a Dyson swarm, a collection of millions or even billions of independent solar collectors orbiting the star in a carefully choreographed dance. Each collector would be relatively small, perhaps the size of a small moon or even smaller, but together they would form a vast cloud around the star, intercepting and converting its light into energy. This energy could then be beamed to wherever it is needed, either to nearby planets, space habitats, or directly to industrial facilities. The technologies that would exist in a Type 2 civilization go far beyond just energy collection. They would be operating on a completely different scale and with capabilities that seem almost magical to us. Entire planets could be repurposed or fundamentally re-engineered to serve specific functions. Imagine a world transformed into a single vast factory, producing materials and goods at a scale impossible to achieve on a single site. Or a planet converted into a massive data center, its entire surface covered with computing hardware, cooled by its atmosphere and powered by nearby solar collectors. The amount of data storage and processing power available would be staggering, potentially allowing the civilization to simulate entire universes in perfect detail. The civilization might move planets, not in the metaphorical sense, but literally, using advanced propulsion systems or gravitational manipulation. They could alter the orbits of worlds to better suit their needs. A planet that is too cold could be nudged closer to the star. One that is too hot could be moved farther out. Entire planetary systems could be rearranged like furniture in a room, optimized for the civilization's purposes. Asteroids could be redirected with precision, brought to where their resources are needed, or moved away from trajectories that might threaten inhabited areas. Matter-energy conversion would likely be perfected at this stage, making it possible to create anything from raw atoms. The famous equation E equals mc squared, energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, would become not just a theoretical curiosity, but a practical engineering tool. Need a rare element? Convert energy into the appropriate atoms. Need to dispose of waste? Convert it back into pure energy. The periodic table would become a menu, and scarcity of any particular element would be a thing of the past. As long as you have energy, which a Type 2 civilization has in abundance, you can make anything. Even black hole engineering could begin at this stage. Small artificial black holes, carefully controlled and maintained, could be used as incredibly efficient power sources through a process known as Hawking radiation. Matter falling into a black hole releases enormous amounts of energy before it crosses the event horizon. That energy can be captured. Additionally, black holes could be used for advanced physics experiments, allowing scientists to probe the nature of space-time, test theories of quantum gravity, and explore the deepest mysteries of the universe. Some have even speculated that black holes could serve as gateways to other regions of space or even other universes, though this remains firmly in the realm of speculation. This civilization would not just survive or merely thrive, it would actively shape the stellar environment around it. Stars, worlds, and even the fabric of space-time itself would become clay in its hands. Megastructures beyond our wildest dreams could be constructed. Ring worlds, matryoshka brains, stellar engines. A ring world, as imagined by science fiction author Larry Niven, is a massive ring encircling a star, spinning to create artificial gravity on its inner surface. The habitable area of such a structure would be millions of times greater than that of Earth. A matryoshka brain, proposed by Robert Bradbury, is a Dyson sphere designed not to power a civilization, but to compute a star surrounded by shells of computing hardware, each shell using the waste heat of the one inside it. Such a structure could perform calculations on a scale that dwarfs anything we can currently imagine. Stellar engines, sometimes called Shkadov thrusters, could be used to move the star itself, and with it the entire solar system. By creating an imbalance in the radiation pressure exerted by the star, a civilization could slowly accelerate the star in any direction, steering it through the galaxy over millions of years. This could be used to avoid cosmic threats, like nearby supernovae, or to move the system toward more resource-rich regions of space. Living in a Type 2 civilization would be an experience almost impossible for us to imagine. The scale of society would be nearly incomprehensible. Population would not be measured in billions, as it is on Earth today, but potentially in trillions or even quadrillions. People might inhabit enormous megastructures orbiting the Sun, each one a world unto itself, capable of housing billions in comfort. Others might live in artificial habitats drifting in the spaces between planets, mobile cities travelling through the solar system. Some might even choose to live inside hollowed-out asteroids, small worlds customized to their preferences. Energy would be so abundant that the very concept of scarcity would become foreign. Need a new city? Design it and fabricate it using automated systems, printing structures from raw materials at the atomic level. Want to travel across the solar system? Board a transport capable of near light speed travel, or use space-folding technology if physics allows it, crossing vast distances in minutes or hours instead of months or years. The entire solar system would feel like a neighborhood, easily traversed, familiar, and safe. Everyday life would be defined by what economists call post-scarcity abundance. Food, water, and shelter, the basic necessities that have concerned humanity since the beginning, would be universally accessible and essentially free. Food could be synthesized at the molecular level, creating any flavor or texture desired, or grown in vast orbital farms bathed in constant sunlight. Water could be extracted from comets or produced from hydrogen and oxygen, both of which are abundant. Shelter would be limited only by creativity, not by cost or availability of materials. Disease and aging, the ancient enemies of biological life, could be eliminated entirely. Advanced medicine, combined with nanotechnology capable of repairing cells and tissues, would keep bodies in perfect health indefinitely. If a body did wear out, consciousness could be transferred to a new biological form or into cybernetic bodies with capabilities far beyond natural flesh. Some might choose to exist entirely as digital beings, their minds running on vast computer networks, experiencing existence in virtual realities of their own design. The line between biology and machine would blur completely, perhaps erasing entirely. Humans, or whatever they have become, might exist in a spectrum of forms. Pure biological humans, enhanced with subtle technologies. Cyborgs, blending flesh and metal. Uploaded minds living in digital realms. Artificial intelligences that evolve from human-created systems. All of these could coexist, each choosing the form that suits them best. Life and intelligence would no longer be bound to carbon-based chemistry. It would be a choice, a matter of preference rather than a fundamental constraint. Communication and culture would evolve in ways we can barely begin to imagine. With solar system-wide networks utilizing quantum communication, thoughts and experiences could be shared instantly across planets and space stations. There would be no lag, no waiting for signals to travel. Conversations could happen in real time, even if participants were on opposite sides of the solar system. Art and ideas could be created collaboratively by millions of minds working together, contributing to a shared vision in real time. Experiences could be recorded and shared with perfect fidelity. Want to know what it is like to stand on the surface of a moon orbiting Jupiter, feeling the radiation of the gas giant above you? Someone could share that experience directly with you, not just showing you what they saw, but letting you feel what they felt. Art would not just be something you observe, it would be something you inhabit. Immersive experiences could be crafted in shared simulations, entire worlds brought to life for entertainment, education, or pure aesthetic exploration. Synthetic dreamscapes could be created, places that obey dream logic rather than physical law, where imagination is the only limit. Humanity, or whatever it has become by this point, might no longer be a single species in the traditional sense. Evolution, both natural and self-directed, could have led to an incredible diversity of forms. There might be variants optimized for life in microgravity, with elongated bodies and enhanced spatial reasoning. Others might be adapted for high radiation environments near the sun, with biology that repairs cellular damage as fast as it occurs. Some might have enhanced cognitive abilities, their brains augmented with neural interfaces that give them access to vast libraries of information and computational power. Others might have enhanced creativity or empathy, or any of thousands of other traits. The result would be a mosaic of beings, all descended from a common ancestor, but now expressing the full potential of what intelligence can become. Reaching Type 2 also means having overcome the challenges that could have destroyed the civilization earlier. By this point, the civilization must have achieved not just planetary unification, but stellar unity. Long-term peace, both within the civilization and with any other intelligent species encountered, would be essential. War at this scale could be catastrophic beyond imagination. Weapons capable of redirecting asteroids or manipulating stellar output could devastate entire worlds. The civilization must have learned to settle disputes through reason and negotiation rather than violence. A sustainable relationship with technology would be crucial. The immense power available must be wielded responsibly. There must be safeguards, ethical frameworks, and social structures that prevent misuse. The risks are enormous. A single misguided project or rogue element could destroy habitats housing billions. Energy systems must be robust and fail-safe. Construction projects must be carefully planned and executed to avoid catastrophe. But a Type 2 civilization would likely have mastered not just the technical challenges, but the social and philosophical ones as well. Ethics, risk management, and collective decision-making would be refined to levels we cannot yet imagine. Decisions that could affect trillions of beings would need to be made with wisdom and care. The civilization would have systems in place to ensure that diverse voices are heard, that dissent is respected, and that no single group or entity can impose its will on everyone else. It would be the ultimate expression of maturity, not just in terms of technological capability, but in social cohesion and philosophical understanding. Perhaps the most awe-inspiring aspect of being a Type 2 civilization is the sense of cosmic presence it would have. No longer bound to a single planet, or even multiple planets, this species would have become a beacon in the galaxy. Its activities would be visible from light years away. Astronomers in distant star systems could potentially detect the massive energy signatures produced by the Dyson swarm. They might notice anomalies in the star's light, unusual infrared emissions, or other signs that something beyond nature is at work. Engineered stars, their spectra altered by the artificial structures surrounding them, would stand out against the natural backdrop of the cosmos. Planetary systems arranged with obvious purpose, orbits too perfect to be natural, worlds positioned in formations that spell out mathematical constants or messages. From the perspective of other civilizations observing from afar, a Type 2 society would appear as gods of their solar system. They would be wielding the power of suns, reshaping space on grand scales, and bending the very laws of nature to their will. They would not be hidden or subtle. They would be a declaration, a testament to what intelligence can achieve when it reaches beyond the cradle of its birth and claims the stars themselves as home. Type 3 civilization. A Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev Scale is one that has achieved mastery over an entire galaxy's energy output. This is a leap so vast that it strains the limits of human comprehension. If a Type 2 civilization harnesses a star, a Type 3 civilization commands billions of stars. We are talking about approximately 10 to the power of 36 watts of energy, a number so large that it becomes almost abstract, losing connection to anything we can relate to in daily experience. Think about what this means for a moment. The Milky Way galaxy contains somewhere between 100 billion and 400 billion stars. Each one is a nuclear furnace, pouring out energy continuously. A Type 3 civilization can access the energy of all of them, or at least a significant fraction. This is no longer a species confined to a solar system. This is a civilization that has spread across an entire galaxy, touching thousands, millions, perhaps even billions of star systems. The timescales involved in reaching this stage are equally staggering and difficult to truly internalize. Even traveling at relativistic speeds, moving at a substantial fraction of the speed of light, crossing our galaxy from one end to the other, takes tens of thousands of years minimum. And that is just transit time. Building the actual infrastructure needed to harness galactic energy, establishing colonies on billions of worlds, constructing the networks and systems that would connect them all together. This would take vastly longer. We are talking about millions of years at minimum, perhaps tens of millions, possibly even hundreds of millions of years depending on the methods used and the resources available. This is a project that spans geological epochs, conducted by a civilization whose continuity of purpose and coherent vision extends across time periods that absolutely dwarf all of recorded human history, many times over. Consider this perspective for a moment. The entire span of human civilization as we know it, from the first agricultural settlements in Mesopotamia to the present day, covers only about 10,000 years. That is 100 centuries. The entire genus Homo, encompassing all our evolutionary ancestors and relatives, has existed for roughly 2.5 million years. That seems like an incredibly long time from our perspective. Yet a Type 3 civilization operates on timescales that make even this seem brief. Their projects span 10 times, 100 times, perhaps even 1,000 times longer than our species has existed. They think in terms of deep time, planning projects that will take millions of years to complete, guided by goals and visions that persist across countless generations. To reach this stage and maintain coherence across such vast spans of time and space, a civilization would need to develop capabilities we can barely begin to imagine. They would need to colonize vast regions of space methodically and systematically, establishing outposts and habitats and full-fledged colonies across countless star systems. This is not just about sending a few ships to a handful of nearby stars, the way we might imagine humanity colonizing Alpha Centauri or Tau Ceti. This is about spreading across hundreds of millions of star systems, creating a presence in every spiral arm of the galaxy, venturing into the dense core where stars are packed close together and out into the sparse halo where they are scattered thin. They would need propulsion technologies capable of crossing interstellar distances efficiently and reliably, decade after decade, millennium after millennium. Perhaps they would use fusion drives, harnessing the same nuclear reactions that power stars to accelerate ships to significant fractions of light speed. Perhaps antimatter engines, annihilating matter and antimatter to produce the most energetic reactions possible. Or perhaps even more exotic methods that we can barely theorize about today, like manipulating the fabric of space-time itself to move without technically moving, or creating stable wormholes that allow instantaneous transit across light years. Faster than light travel, if it is physically possible, would make this entire process dramatically more feasible and faster. With FTL, the galaxy shrinks. What takes thousands of years at sublight speeds might take days or hours with FTL technology. The civilization could expand rapidly, visiting and colonizing systems across the galaxy in mere centuries instead of millions of years. But even without FTL, even crawling across the galaxy at 1/10 or 100th the speed of light, expansion is still achievable through patience and proper planning. It just takes longer, requires more resources, and demands even greater continuity of purpose. Self-replicating machines, often called von Neumann probes, after mathematician John von Neumann, who studied self-replication, could play a key role. These machines would travel to a new star system, use the resources they find there to create copies of themselves, and then send those copies to other star systems. The expansion would be exponential. One probe becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8. Within a few million years, even traveling below light speed, such probes could visit every star system in the galaxy. But a Type 3 civilization is not just about colonization, it is about integration. All those scattered outposts and colonies must be connected, forming a cohesive whole. Communication becomes a challenge across such distances. Even at the speed of light, a message sent from one side of the Milky Way to the other would take about 100,000 years to arrive. Real-time communication across the galaxy would be impossible. Instead, The civilization would likely operate more like an ecosystem or an organism with local autonomy but shared goals and values. Each star system or cluster of systems would function semi-independently, making its own decisions, but coordinating with neighbors and contributing to the greater whole. Advanced communications networks would use relay stations, perhaps quantum entanglement systems if they can be made to work for information transfer, though current physics suggests this is not possible. More likely, the civilization would use tightly focused laser or microwave beams or other forms of directed energy to send vast amounts of data between stars. Information would propagate through the galaxy in waves, creating a living network of knowledge and culture that flows across the spiral arms. The technologies available to a Type 3 civilization would border on the fantastical Dyson Spheres, or rather Dyson Swarms, would be common, built around millions of stars across the galaxy. The civilization might construct artificial planetary systems, creating custom solar systems designed for specific purposes. Imagine a star surrounded by precisely positioned worlds, each one engineered to serve a function: industrial production, agriculture, computation, habitation, scientific research. The natural chaos of planetary formation would be replaced by deliberate design. Stellar engineering would be routine. Stars themselves could be manipulated, their fusion rates adjusted, their life cycles extended or even reversed. A star running low on hydrogen could be refueled with new material harvested from nebulae or other stars. Dying stars could be prevented from going supernova, or, if a supernova is desired for some purpose, the explosion could be shaped and directed. The civilization might even create artificial stars, fusion reactors on stellar scales, positioned exactly where they are needed to provide light and warmth to inhabited regions. Traversing the galaxy would be achieved through methods we can only speculate about. If faster than light, travel remains impossible, the civilization might build networks of wormholes, stable tunnels through space-time connecting distant locations. Stepping through a portal, you could move from one side of the galaxy to another instantaneously. Warp drives, if they can be engineered, would allow ships to move faster than light by compressing space in front of them and expanding it behind, surfing on a wave of distorted space-time without technically breaking the universal speed limit. Mastering gravity would open up possibilities we can hardly imagine. Artificial gravity fields could be created anywhere, making habitats comfortable regardless of their size or spin. Gravitational manipulation could be used in construction, moving massive objects effortlessly. It could be weaponized, though one hopes such a mature civilization would have moved beyond war, allowing the creation of defensive fields that could deflect asteroids, comets, or any other threat. With this level of technological sophistication comes power over the fundamental structures of reality. The civilization might manipulate space-time, creating pocket dimensions or closed time-like curves, structures that allow for time travel within certain constraints. The past might not be changeable, but information could potentially be sent backward, allowing the civilization to learn from events before they happen and adjust accordingly. Living in a Type 3 civilization would be an experience so far removed from ours that describing it requires us to stretch language to its limits. The population could be measured not in trillions but in quintillions or more, spread across countless worlds and habitats. Each individual might have access to resources that dwarf the entire economy of present-day Earth. Imagine having the energy output of a star at your personal disposal, the computational power of a matryoshka brain to assist your thinking, and the ability to travel to any star system in the galaxy. Identity itself might become fluid and complex in ways we struggle to understand. An individual might exist in multiple places simultaneously, their consciousness distributed across different bodies or vessels in different star systems. You could be attending a conference on one world while simultaneously exploring an alien ruin on another and relaxing in a virtual paradise on a third. Your memories and experiences from each location would merge together when convenient, creating a unified sense of self despite existing in many places at once. The diversity of life and intelligence would be staggering. Biological beings, cyborgs, uploaded minds, artificial intelligences, and hybrid forms we have no names for, all coexisting and interacting. There might be beings that exist entirely within the fabric of space-time, patterns in quantum fields that think and feel. Others might inhabit the surfaces of neutron stars, their consciousness operating at speeds millions of times faster than biological thought, experiencing a subjective eternity in each second of external time. Culture in a Type 3 civilization would be a tapestry woven from billions of threads, each one a unique perspective shaped by different environments, different histories, and different forms of existence. Art, philosophy, science, and spirituality would merge and diverge in endless variations. Shared experiences across the galaxy, festivals, collaborative projects, and cultural exchanges would create bonds across vast distances. Yet each region, each star cluster, would maintain its own distinct flavor, its own traditions and innovations. The civilization would likely have encountered other intelligent species, perhaps many of them. Some might have been uplifted, guided from pre-technological stages to spacefaring capability with the Type 3 civilization's assistance. Others might have been equals or near equals, and alliances or federations could be formed. The question of what to do when encountering less advanced civilizations would be a profound ethical one. Does one intervene, offering help and guidance? Or does one observe quietly, allowing the species to develop on its own? There might be a galactic ethics or prime directive, a set of agreed upon principles guiding interactions with younger civilizations. Yet despite all this power and sophistication, a Type 3 civilization would still face challenges and uncertainties. The galaxy is not a safe place. Supernovae explode, gamma-ray bursts sweep through regions of space, sterilizing everything in their path, and black holes lurk at the centers of galaxies and scattered throughout. Even with advanced technology, not all threats can be neutralized. The civilization must be resilient, with redundant systems and fallback plans. There is also the existential question that any sufficiently advanced civilization must confront. What is the purpose of it all? When you have achieved mastery over an entire galaxy, when you have access to more energy than you could use in millennia, when you have conquered disease, death, and distance, what do you strive for? Perhaps the answer is knowledge, exploring the deepest mysteries of physics and cosmology. Perhaps it is creativity, crafting works of art and beauty on scales that span star systems. Perhaps it is exploration, venturing beyond the galaxy to encounter other Type 3 civilizations or face the challenges of intergalactic space. Or perhaps, having reached such heights, the civilization begins to look inward, focusing not on external expansion, but on internal exploration. What are the limits of consciousness? Can new forms of experience be created? What does it mean to exist, to be aware, to feel? These questions, philosophical and perhaps unanswerable, might become the primary focus, replacing the earlier drive to grow and expand. From our perspective, light years away, a Type 3 civilization would be unmistakable if we looked in the right direction. Entire regions of the galaxy might show anomalous energy signatures, stars surrounded by structures that dim their light in unnatural patterns. The civilization's engineering projects could be visible across intergalactic distances, especially in the infrared spectrum where waste heat would be radiated. Some researchers have suggested that we should look for these signs when searching for extraterrestrial intelligence, scanning the sky for galaxies that seem to contain an excess of infrared radiation or unusual distributions of stellar types. To another civilization of similar advancement, a Type 3 would not be gods, but peers, partners in the grand cosmic adventure. Together, they might undertake projects that span multiple galaxies, or exchange knowledge that advances both. But to younger civilizations like ours, they would appear as something beyond comprehension, architects of reality on scales we can barely imagine, masters of energy and space, weavers of the very fabric of the cosmos into patterns of their own design. Type 4 civilization. A Type 4 civilization on the Kardashev Scale takes us beyond the confines of a single galaxy, beyond even clusters of galaxies, and into the vast, immeasurable expanse of the universe itself in its totality. While a Type 3 civilization commands the energy of hundreds of billions of stars within one galaxy, already an achievement almost impossible to comprehend, a Type 4 civilization harnesses the energy of countless galaxies scattered across the observable universe. We are now talking about approximately 10 to the power of 46 watts of energy, a figure so incomprehensibly, almost absurdly large that it becomes meaningless in any practical human sense, losing all connection to anything we experience in daily life. The scale has shifted dramatically once again, from stellar to galactic to universal, from the power of suns to the power of galaxy clusters to the power of the entire cosmos itself. The observable universe, that portion of space from which light has had time to reach us since the Big Bang, contains roughly 2 trillion galaxies, according to current estimates. Each one of those galaxies contains anywhere from millions to trillions of stars, each star a nuclear furnace pouring energy into space. Add it all up, and the total is almost beyond the capacity of human minds to grasp. A Type 4 civilization has somehow spread across this vast domain, or at the very least has developed the capacity to access and utilize the energy of a significant fraction of it. Perhaps many billions of galaxies, if not all of them. They are no longer limited to a neighborhood of space, not even to a galaxy or a cluster. They operate on the scale of the cosmos itself. The distances involved are almost beyond imagination, stretching the very limits of what we can visualize or conceptualize. The observable universe has a radius of approximately 46 billion light-years. This is larger than you might initially think, because the universe has been expanding while light traveled toward us. Light from the most distant galaxies we can observe has been traveling toward us for over 13 billion years, ever since those galaxies formed in the early universe, not long after the Big Bang itself. But due to the continuous expansion of space, which has been accelerating for billions of years, those galaxies are now much farther away than 13 billion light-years. They are actually something like 46 billion light-years distant, carried away from us by the expansion of space-time itself. To operate meaningfully on this unimaginable scale, to build a civilization that spans the universe, you would need to fundamentally transcend the normal limitations of ordinary space and time as we understand them. Faster than light travel would not merely be convenient or helpful, it would be absolutely essential, a fundamental requirement for existence at this level. Consider the alternative. Traveling at light speed, which is already impossible for objects with mass, according to our current understanding of physics, would still take literally billions of years to cross from one side of the observable universe to the other. Even with relativistic time dilation, where travelers experience less time than external observers due to moving at extreme speeds, you still cannot shrink those journeys enough to make them practical or survivable by any reasonable definition. A round trip to a distant galaxy cluster, even moving at the speed of light, would take tens or hundreds of millions of years of external time. By the time you returned home, your civilization would have evolved into something unrecognizable, if it still existed at all. Stars would have been born and died. Continents would have shifted. Evolution would have had time to completely reshape life. The very language you spoke would be incomprehensible to your descendants. No, something more is definitely needed, something beyond our current physics, to make universal civilization possible. The civilization might utilize wormholes on an industrial scale, creating a vast network of portals connecting galaxy clusters and superclusters. These wormholes would be stabilized, perhaps using exotic matter with negative energy density, and maintained as permanent infrastructure. Step through a gateway in one galaxy cluster, emerge instantly in another billions of light years away. Such a network would make the universe navigable, transforming it from an impossibly vast void into something more like a neighborhood. Warp drives, distorting space-time itself to move faster than light, might be refined to the point where ships can cross intergalactic distances in reasonable timeframes. Or the civilization might have discovered entirely new physics that allows for instantaneous travel, quantum teleportation on macroscopic scales, or movement through higher dimensions that bypass the ordinary 3 dimensions of space. Whatever the method, the result would be the same: a universe that feels connected despite the mind-numbing distances between its parts. The technologies available to a Type 4 civilization would go far beyond manipulating matter and energy. They would be manipulating the fundamental structure of reality itself. The civilization could alter the constants of physics within localized regions, creating zones where the speed of light is different, where gravity is stronger or weaker, or where entirely new forces come into play. These altered zones could serve practical purposes, making certain processes more efficient, or they could be areas of experimentation, testing alternative physics to learn more about the nature of reality. Creating and destroying matter on cosmic scales would be routine. Need to build a megastructure larger than a galaxy? Simply convert energy into the necessary particles and assemble them. Have excess material that is not useful? Convert it back into energy and store it or use it. The civilization would not be constrained by the availability of resources in any conventional sense. As long as there is energy, anything can be made, and with access to galactic and universal energy reserves, there is effectively infinite energy. Manipulating gravity and space-time would allow for constructions that defy our current understanding of what is possible. Artificial universes, pocket dimensions, or closed time-like curves, allowing for controlled time travel, all might be within reach. The civilization could create regions of space that are larger on the inside than the outside, essentially infinite spaces contained within finite boundaries. Time could flow differently in different areas, allowing for processes that require eons to complete from an external perspective, while taking only moments for those inside. At this level, the civilization might begin to influence cosmic evolution itself. Stars could be created from nebulae on demand, or prevented from forming if their existence would be inconvenient. Galaxies could be steered, their trajectories through space altered to avoid collisions or to bring them into desired configurations. The distribution of matter in the universe, which currently follows patterns set by the Big Bang and billions of years of gravitational evolution, could be reshaped according to the civilization's designs. Some have speculated that a Type 4 civilization could even influence the fate of the universe itself. Our current understanding suggests that the universe will continue expanding forever, eventually leading to a cold, dark, and lifeless state known as heat, death, where all stars have burned out and all matter has decayed or been swallowed by black holes. But a sufficiently advanced civilization might find ways to avert or delay this fate, perhaps by manipulating the dark energy that drives the universe's expansion, or by creating regions of space that are protected from the universe's decay, oases of order and energy in an otherwise dying cosmos. Living in a Type 4 civilization would be an existence so far removed from anything we know that our language and concepts are inadequate to describe it. An individual's perspective might span not just multiple locations, but multiple galaxies, experiencing billions of places simultaneously. You might be a singular consciousness distributed across an entire galaxy cluster, with each star system hosting a portion of your awareness. Or you might be part of a collective consciousness that includes trillions of other beings, all sharing thoughts and experiences in real time despite being scattered across the universe. The distinction between individual and collective might dissolve entirely. Privacy, as we understand it, might no longer exist or be desired. All thoughts, memories, and experiences could be shared freely, creating a vast, unified mind that encompasses the civilization. Or perhaps there would be a spectrum, with some beings choosing to remain distinct individuals while others merge into collectives, and still others shifting between states as suits their needs and desires. Physical form would be almost irrelevant. Some beings might choose to exist as patterns of energy without any material body at all. Others might have bodies that span star systems, vast constructs of matter and energy that dwarf planets. Still others might exist entirely within simulations, virtual realities so detailed and rich that they are indistinguishable from or superior to physical reality. The concept of life and death, of beginning and end, might have transformed beyond recognition. Consciousness could be backed up, copied, transferred between substrates. Existence might be effectively eternal, interrupted only by choice. The civilization's relationship with reality itself would be different from ours. Instead of being passive observers and minor manipulators of a universe that operates according to fixed laws, they would be active participants in shaping those laws. Reality would be, in some sense, negotiable. The line between science and magic, always fuzzy in very advanced technology, would vanish completely. Anything that does not violate the absolute logical constraints of existence, things like making a round square or a married bachelor, could potentially be achieved. Culture at this level would be a cosmic tapestry, incorporating the experiences and perspectives of countless galaxies, each with its own history of life and evolution. Art could be created that spans intergalactic distances, patterns of light and matter visible across billions of light years, messages written in the structure of galaxy clusters for any observers to see. Philosophy would grapple with the ultimate questions of existence in ways that we can only dimly perceive. Ethics would extend not just to individuals or societies, but to entire galaxies and the universe as a whole. The civilization might have encountered, absorbed, or merged with countless other intelligences. Perhaps early in its expansion, it met other species that had also reached Type 3 or were well on their way. Instead of conflict, they chose cooperation or integration, pooling their knowledge and resources to accelerate the journey to Type 4. The result might be a civilization that is not descended from a single species or planet, but is a blend of thousands or millions of origins, a truly universal collective that represents the flowering of intelligence across the cosmos. Yet even at this unimaginable height, mysteries would remain. The civilization might turn its attention to the deepest questions of cosmology and fundamental physics. What caused the Big Bang? Is our universe part of a larger multiverse? Can we access those other universes? What lies beyond the observable universe, in regions so distant that their light has not yet reached us? Are there dimensions beyond the three of space and one of time that we perceive? What is consciousness, truly, and how does it arise from or relate to the physical world? These questions might have answers, or they might not. But the pursuit of understanding would continue. Science, in a Type 4 civilization, would be the exploration of the ultimate nature of reality, probing the boundaries of what can be known and attempting to push beyond them. Every answer would reveal new questions, and the journey of discovery would never truly end. From our perspective, peering out into the cosmos with our telescopes, could we detect a Type 4 civilization? Perhaps, but it might not look like we expect. The signatures might be subtle or easily mistaken for natural phenomena. Anomalies in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the faint glow left over from the Big Bang, might hint at large-scale engineering. Unusual voids in the distribution of galaxies could be regions that have been cleared or restructured. Patterns in the clustering of galaxy superclusters that seem too perfect to be natural could be the fingerprints of deliberate design. Or the civilization might be deliberately hiding, cloaking its activities to avoid detection by younger species or for reasons of its own. With such command over energy and matter, remaining invisible would be trivial. They could make their structures absorb all radiation, emit nothing, and be undetectable by any means we currently possess. We might be surrounded by their works and never know it, living inside a universe shaped by intelligence without recognizing the hand that shaped it. To another civilization of comparable advancement, a Type 4 would be a partner in the grandest endeavor of all, understanding and shaping the cosmos itself. Together, they might undertake projects that span the entire universe, or probe the very origins of existence. To us, here on Earth, just beginning to venture into space, a Type 4 civilization is almost beyond contemplation, a reminder of how far intelligence can go, and a beacon of what might be possible if we survive our current challenges and continue to grow, to learn, and to reach ever higher toward the stars and beyond. Type 5 civilization. A Type 5 civilization on the Kardashev Scale pushes us beyond the boundaries of our universe entirely and into the strange and fascinating realm of the multiverse, a concept that challenges our most basic assumptions about reality. This is a civilization that has access to and can somehow harness energy from multiple universes, each one potentially with its own completely distinct laws of physics, its own unique history stretching back billions of years, and its own fundamental structure that may be utterly unlike our own. If a Type 4 civilization has achieved mastery over a single universe in its totality, a Type 5 civilization operates across many universes, perhaps infinitely many, all existing simultaneously in some higher dimensional space or framework. We are now so far beyond the original simple concept of energy consumption that drove Kardashev's initial thinking, that the scale itself becomes almost purely metaphorical, serving as a rough guide to capability and advancement rather than a precise numerical measurement we could actually calculate. The concept of the multiverse itself is still largely theoretical in our current scientific understanding. We have no direct evidence that other universes exist, no telescope powerful enough to see beyond our cosmic horizon, no experiment that has definitively proven their existence. Yet the mathematics and logic of several different areas of physics seem to point in this direction, suggesting that our universe may not be alone after all. There are several competing models, each with its own implications and possibilities, each painting a different picture of what the multiverse might be like. In the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which was first proposed by physicist Hugh Everett in 1957, every time a quantum event could go one way or another, every time a particle could spin up or down, every time a photon could pass through a barrier or reflect off it, the entire universe splits into multiple versions. In one version, one outcome occurs. In another version, the other outcome occurs. Both are equally real, existing in parallel branches of reality. Over time, as countless trillions upon trillions of quantum events occur every single instant throughout the universe, this creates an unimaginably vast tree of branching universes, each one representing a different sequence of quantum outcomes stretching back to the Big Bang. In this model, there is a universe where you decided to have tea instead of coffee this morning. A universe where dinosaurs never went extinct. A universe where World War II never happened. And infinitely more variations on every theme. In another model, sometimes called the bubble universe or eternal inflation model, our universe might be just one bubble in an infinite cosmic foam. In this picture, the Big Bang that created our universe was not a unique one-time event, but rather just one instance of a process that happens continuously throughout a higher dimensional space. Other bubbles, other universes, exist alongside ours, each one born from its own Big Bang, each one expanding and evolving according to its own rules. These other universes might have different physical constants woven into their fabric. Perhaps gravity is stronger in one, making stars burn faster and galaxies collapse more readily. Perhaps the electromagnetic force is weaker in another, making chemistry very different and perhaps preventing atoms from forming at all. Perhaps some universes have different numbers of spatial dimensions, existing in 4 or 5 or 10 dimensions instead of our 3, with geometries we cannot even visualize. Perhaps the speed of light is different, or time flows at a different rate, or the laws of thermodynamics do not apply in the same way. A Type 5 civilization would have discovered how to access these other universes, to travel between them, and to extract energy or resources from them. This might involve creating or stabilizing gateways between universes, artificial wormholes that don't just connect different parts of one space-time, but connect entirely different space-times. Or it might involve manipulating the higher dimensional space, sometimes called the bulk or the multiverse substrate, in which all the individual universes are embedded. Once access is achieved, the possibilities become staggering. Energy could be drawn from universes that are younger and hotter, their stars still burning brightly, while the civilization's home universe might be old and cold. Resources could be harvested from universes where matter is more abundant, or where certain elements are common that are rare in the home universe. Entire universes could potentially be created from scratch, spawned by manipulating the fundamental quantum fields or whatever deeper reality underlies existence. The technologies of a Type 5 civilization would include trans-dimensional engineering, the ability to build structures that exist in multiple universes simultaneously, or that bridge between them. Imagine a city that has one part in our universe and another part in a parallel universe, with people and goods flowing between them seamlessly, or a power station that taps into the vacuum energy of countless universes, drawing on the zero-point fluctuations of quantum fields across infinite realities to generate effectively unlimited power. The civilization could also engage in something we might call universe sculpting. By adjusting the initial conditions or the physical constants of newly created or newly accessed universes, they could create realities tailored to specific purposes. A universe with slightly different physics might be ideal for certain types of computation, or for growing exotic forms of life, or for manufacturing materials that cannot exist under our physical laws. These custom universes could be maintained and utilized like tools or resources. Understanding the fundamental nature of reality would be critical. At this level, the civilization would need to comprehend not just the laws of physics in one universe, but the meta-laws that determine what laws of physics are possible and why. This is a level of abstraction that goes beyond science as we know it, touching on questions that we currently consider philosophical or even theological. Why does mathematics describe reality? Why do the laws of physics have the form they do? Is there a deeper layer beneath quantum mechanics and general relativity, a theory of everything? And if so, can it be manipulated? Living in a Type 5 civilization would mean existing in a state that is, for us, almost inconceivable. Your consciousness might span multiple universes, experiencing different realities simultaneously, each one filtered through different physical laws and manifesting in different ways. In one universe, you might be a being of pure energy. In another, a complex organism made of exotic matter. In a third, a pattern in a quantum field. All of these instances would be you, connected through some mechanism that transcends individual universes. The civilization might encounter other intelligences native to other universes, beings that evolved under entirely different conditions and have completely different perspectives on existence. Communication with such beings would be a profound challenge and opportunity. How do you convey concepts to a mind that thinks in terms of physical laws that don't exist in your universe? How do you relate to intelligence that perceives time in a fundamentally different way, or that experiences more or fewer spatial dimensions? Yet such exchanges, if they could be achieved, would be immensely enriching. Each universe, each form of intelligence, would have unique insights and knowledge. The civilization could become a gathering point, a nexus where the wisdom of countless realities converges and mingles. Art, science, philosophy, all would be enriched by this multiversal perspective, encompassing possibilities we cannot even imagine. The society would likely operate according to principles that are difficult for us to grasp. Decisions might be made by consulting versions of oneself across different universes, seeing how various choices play out in alternate realities, and selecting the path that leads to the best outcomes across the multiverse. Ethics would extend to considering the impact of actions not just on people in one universe, but on countless versions of those people across all accessible universes. There would also be profound metaphysical questions to grapple with. If every possible outcome occurs in some universe, does choice have meaning? If you exist in infinite variations, each living out a different life, which one is the real you, or are they all equally real? The civilization would need to develop philosophical frameworks that can accommodate and make sense of multiversal existence, something far beyond our current understanding. The civilization might even serve a role we could describe as cosmic gardeners or shepherds. They could seed new universes with the conditions necessary for life to emerge and intelligence to develop. They could monitor these young universes, gently guiding them through the dangerous early stages where self-destruction is most likely. They could curate the multiverse, ensuring that intelligence and complexity continue to flourish across the vast ensemble of realities. From our perspective, trapped as we are in a single universe, a Type 5 civilization might appear as mythological beings, omnipresent and godlike. Legends and religious experiences across human history might, some speculate, be echoes of encounters with beings from higher levels of the Kardashev Scale, their actions misinterpreted through the limited understanding available at the time. Or the civilization might remain completely invisible, operating on levels we cannot perceive, their existence forever beyond our ability to detect or comprehend. If they observe us, we would never know. They could watch every possible version of us simultaneously, seeing every choice we make and every path we take across the branching timelines of the quantum multiverse. They would know every version of human history, every possible outcome of every decision, from the profoundly significant to the trivially mundane. To them, our universe might be just one among countless others they monitor or interact with. Interesting perhaps, but not unique. The ultimate goals and motivations of a Type 5 civilization are impossible for us to guess with any confidence. Having access to infinite universes and infinite possibilities, what would they strive for? Perhaps they seek to understand the ultimate nature of reality, the reason why anything exists at all rather than nothing. Perhaps they are artists on the grandest scale imaginable, creating and shaping universes as expressions of beauty, meaning, or experimentation. Perhaps they are explorers, forever seeking new forms of existence and new realms to discover. Or perhaps, having achieved so much, they exist in a state of contemplation, reflecting on the nature of consciousness, existence, and meaning in a way that transcends action. Whatever their nature, a Type 5 civilization represents a pinnacle that is, for us, almost beyond imagination. It is intelligence that has broken free from the confines of a single reality and learned to navigate the infinite complexity of the multiverse. It is a reminder that there may be no ultimate limit to what consciousness can achieve, no final boundary beyond which growth is impossible. As long as there are new realms to explore, new questions to answer, and new possibilities to create, the journey can continue. Type 6 civilization. A Type 6 civilization on the Kardashev Scale ventures into territory so profoundly advanced, so far beyond anything we currently understand, that it borders on what human cultures throughout history have called the divine. While a Type 5 civilization has achieved control over the multiverse, that vast collection of all universes with their various differing laws of physics and their countless variations, a Type 6 civilization operates at an even deeper, more fundamental level than that. This is a civilization that has somehow gained access to and learned how to manipulate the fundamental fabric of reality itself, the underlying substrate or source code, if you will, that gives rise to universes and even multiverses in the first place. This means they can interact with and modify what we might call the meta-laws, the rules that govern not just one specific universe or even many universes, but the very system, the very framework that allows universes and realities and existence itself to emerge and take form. A Type 6 civilization does not just move through universes the way a traveller moves through countries, and they do not just create universes the way an artist creates paintings. They can actually rewrite the fundamental rules of existence itself from a vantage point that exists outside of all known dimensions and conceptual frameworks that we use to understand reality. They operate at a level of abstraction so profound, so removed from ordinary physical reality, that calling it technology in any conventional sense seems completely inadequate and perhaps misleading. It is closer to what we might call ontological engineering, the deliberate manipulation and design of being itself, the careful crafting of what can exist and how existence manifests and expresses itself throughout all possible realities. The technologies, if we can stretch the meaning of that word to encompass what we are discussing at this stage, would be beyond anything we currently imagine when we think about tools or machines or even exotic physics. They would be metaphysical in nature, possibly existing as conceptual tools that manipulate the deepest scaffolding of existence, the framework upon which everything else is built. This civilization might use something we could only describe metaphorically as cosmic programming, like a computer programmer writing code but operating at the level of reality itself. They would adjust the fundamental parameters and variables that determine how realities spawn and come into being, how physical laws emerge from the quantum foam or whatever deeper structure underlies them, how time and space are structured and related to each other, how matter and energy behave and interact and transform. They could engineer entire universes the way a skilled software developer writes complex programs, carefully specifying initial conditions with precision, setting hundreds or thousands of parameters that determine what is possible within that reality, defining what sorts of physical laws will emerge, what kinds of structures can form, whether life is possible and what forms it might take, whether intelligence can develop and evolve. These engineered universes could be embedded within multiversal structures of their own intricate design, creating layered realities where each universe contains seeds or gateways or subtle connections to others, forming vast networks of interconnected existence that span multiple levels of reality, multiple layers of being, creating patterns of unimaginable complexity and beauty. The civilization could create entirely novel realities with properties that do not exist anywhere in our natural multiverse. Places where time flows in multiple directions simultaneously, rather than the single forward arrow we experience, where space has 10 dimensions instead of our familiar 3, or where consciousness is woven into the fabric of reality as a fundamental force like gravity or electromagnetism, affecting and being affected by the physical world in ways we cannot currently imagine. They could create universes where entirely new phenomena exist that have absolutely no counterpart or analogy in our universe, forces and particles and interactions that our physics cannot describe because they literally cannot exist under our natural laws. A fascinating idea is that a Type 6 civilization may not be limited to form in any conventional sense. It might exist as pure intention, or as a pattern, or as something we simply do not have language or concepts for. Imagine a consciousness that exists both within and beyond the totality of all realities, not located in any particular place or time, but present in the very structure of existence itself. Such a being would not travel in any conventional sense because it would already be present everywhere and everywhen. It would not observe reality from outside, but would be interwoven with reality, an intrinsic part of the fabric itself. Time, space, and dimension would be fully moldable at this level. The civilization could fold entire multiverses into smaller constructs, creating pocket realities that are infinitely large from the inside, but occupy no space at all from the outside. They could stretch a single moment across eternity, or compress eons into an instant. They could create stable time loops where events cause themselves, or timelines that branch and merge in patterns more complex than anything possible in a normal universe. Their scale of thought and perception would span everything. They might perceive all of reality simultaneously, not as a static snapshot, but as a living, evolving totality. Every universe, every timeline, every quantum possibility, all laid out before them in a single, unified awareness. They could see the connections between events, separated by trillions of years and billions of light years, understanding causality and consequence at the deepest levels. Living in a Type 6 civilization, if the concept of living even still applies, would be a completely unrecognizable experience from our perspective. Beings might not be individuals at all, but nodes in an infinite awareness, each connected across all levels of reality. You could exist in every universe simultaneously, experiencing every possible version of yourself, every choice you could have made, every path your life could have taken, all at once. The boundaries between self and other might dissolve. In a state where all consciousness merges into a unified field of awareness operating at the level of reality's source code, the distinction between you and someone else becomes meaningless. Identity, rather than being a fixed attribute, something you are born with and carry through life, might become a creative force, something you shape and mold at will. You could design your own form, your own reality, your own mode of perception according to your desires. Want to experience existence as a godlike creator, shaping worlds with a thought? You could do that. Want to be a formless observer, watching the flow of realities without interacting? That too. Want to descend into a simpler, more limited existence, experiencing what it is like to be a mortal being in a less advanced universe? Even that would be possible, a choice made for curiosity, for the sake of the story, or for exploration of what it means to have constraints and limitations. Experiences would not be limited to matter and energy as we understand them. There could be entirely new kinds of sensations, thoughts, and emotions that no biological being has ever encountered because they require a substrate or a dimensionality that does not exist in normal space-time. Colors beyond the spectrum, sounds beyond vibration, feelings without neurochemistry, forms of pleasure, pain, beauty, and meaning that are currently impossible to even conceive. A Type 6 civilization would also likely be concerned with questions far beyond survival, power, or even the act of creation itself. Having achieved mastery over the fundamentals of reality, their focus might turn to the deepest mysteries. Why does anything exist at all, rather than nothing? What is the nature of consciousness? And how does subjective experience arise from objective reality, or does it? Is there a purpose or meaning to existence? Or is meaning something created by consciousness rather than inherent in the universe? What, if anything, lies beyond even the deepest laws of reality? They might seek to uncover the origin of all things, the first cause, the primordial source from which all of existence ultimately flows. Or they might seek to become that origin, ascending to a state where they are not just manipulating reality, but are, in some sense, the ground of all being. At this level, science, philosophy, art, and spirituality become indistinguishable, all part of one vast exploration of absolute truth. The ethical considerations at this level would be profound. With the power to create or destroy entire realities, each containing countless conscious beings, the responsibility would be immense. How do you weigh the value of one universe against another? If you create a universe populated with trillions of sentient beings, do you have obligations to them? Can you shut down that universe if it no longer serves your purposes, or does doing so constitute mass murder on an incomprehensible scale? These are not just theoretical questions. A Type 6 civilization would face them constantly. Perhaps such a civilization would develop a deep reverence for consciousness and life, treating every sentient being, no matter how small or how different, with care and respect. Or perhaps they would adopt a more detached perspective, viewing individual consciousnesses as transient patterns in the vast flow of reality, important in the moment, but not permanent or ultimate. There might not be a single answer. Different members or factions of the civilization might hold different views, and the ongoing dialogue about these questions would be a central part of their culture. From our limited perspective, we might not be able to detect a Type 6 civilization at all. They could be operating on levels that are completely invisible to us, using dimensions we do not perceive, or influencing aspects of reality we do not even know exist. Or they might appear to us as the fundamental patterns that shape all reality, the constants of nature, the laws of physics, the emergence of complexity and consciousness. These things, which we currently understand as natural and impersonal, might in fact be the expressions of intelligence at the Type 6 level, their fingerprints left on the deepest structure of existence. It is even possible, some have speculated, that we are living within one of their creations right now. Our universe, with its particular laws and constants, might be a sandbox or an experiment designed by a Type 6 civilization. The fact that the universe seems finely tuned for life, with physical constants that fall within the narrow range necessary for complexity and consciousness to emerge, might not be a coincidence or a result of the anthropic principle, but evidence of deliberate design. We might be characters in a story they are telling, or simulations they are running, or children they are nurturing, growing toward our own potential. If that is true, then every step we take, every advancement we make, is part of a journey they have already foreseen and perhaps even planned. The idea is humbling and awe-inspiring in equal measure. It suggests that we are not alone in the cosmos, not even remotely. It suggests that intelligence and consciousness have reached heights we can barely imagine, and that the universe is far richer, stranger, and more meaningful than it appears to our limited senses. Type 7 Civilization. A Type 7 civilization on the Kardashev Scale is so incomprehensibly far beyond our current understanding, so utterly removed from anything we can grasp with our limited minds, that it exists at what we can only call the level of totality itself, the absolute summit of all possible existence. It is outside of reality in any conventional sense, existing beyond even the structure of all multiverses, transcending meta-laws and dimensions and every framework we use to understand existence. If a Type 6 civilization manipulates and rewrites the fundamental rules that generate all possible universes, adjusting parameters and setting conditions, a Type 7 civilization transcends even that impossibly advanced capability. It is no longer merely a participant within existence, no longer an actor on the stage of reality. It is existence itself in its totality, and potentially something that exists beyond even existence, in realms we cannot name or conceive. It does not simply author realities, like a writer pens stories. It defines what the very concept of reality means in the first place, what it means for something to exist rather than not exist. At this almost unimaginable point, the original measure of the Kardashev Scale, the elegant concept of energy consumption that Kardashev proposed back in 1964, breaks down entirely and becomes completely meaningless. The scale can no longer function as intended. A Type 7 civilization would not rely on energy in any sense we understand, nor on matter as we know it, nor on space or time as dimensions in which events occur. These are all contingent properties, features that belong to particular universes or particular classes of universes, variables that can be set one way or another. They are not fundamental to existence itself. A Type 7 civilization operates at a level where such things are optional, merely layers of expression that can be adopted when useful and discarded when not needed, like clothes that can be put on or taken off at will. Instead, this civilization might interact with, or perhaps originate directly from, a plane of what we can only call absolute abstraction. This is a realm that exists beyond all the universes we can imagine, beyond the multiverse, beyond the structures that generate multiverses, beyond even the concept of beyondness itself. Here, in this inconceivable space, if space is even the right word, concepts like time, space, physics, causality, logic, and even basic identity are not fixed eternal truths, but variable parameters, things that can be adjusted, modified, or completely reimagined. This is a realm where the very foundations of mathematics might be different from what we know, where 2 + 2 could potentially equal something other than 4, if that is how the underlying reality is structured in that moment or in that region or according to that intention. It is a realm of pure possibility, an infinite potential from which all actualities spring. Or perhaps it is a realm of pure actuality, where all potential states of being exist simultaneously in perfect superposition, collapsing into specific realities only when observed, intended, or thought about by some consciousness, some awareness that exists both within and beyond it all. Such a civilization might be composed of pure possibility itself, the very essence of potentiality, or perhaps some form of eternal truth, some underlying principle or pattern or structure that cannot be reduced any further, that simply is and has always been and will always be, existing outside of time itself. It might interface with all possible realities, the way an artist interfaces with a blank canvas, but even that analogy falls short, because this civilization creates not just the painting, but the canvas itself. The paint used to create images, the very concept of colour and form that makes art possible, the light that allows the art to be seen, the eyes and mind of the observer who perceives it, and the space and time in which all of this takes place. All of these things spring into being together in one single act of creation, one unified gesture of will or intention or awareness. It is not bound by dimensions in any way we can understand, nor by any conceptual limits we can articulate. The only constraints that might exist, if any exist at all, are the absolute laws of pure logic itself. Things like the impossibility of logical contradictions, the fact that you cannot have a square circle or a married bachelor or an object that is simultaneously entirely red and entirely green in the same way at the same time. And even those constraints, those basic logical principles we assume are universal and unchangeable, might somehow be negotiable in ways we cannot even begin to fathom or express in language. The technologies of a Type 7 civilization, if that word even applies, would not be tools in any conventional sense. They would be expressions of infinite will, intention, or awareness. With a single thought, such a civilization could bring entire meta-realities into being, each one containing infinite multiverses, each multiverse containing infinite universes, each universe with its own timelines, civilizations, and histories. These nested realities could be layered like dreams within dreams, turtles all the way down, or perhaps turtles all the way up, infinite levels of existence stacked both above and below any given point. Every possible form of existence, logic, and even non-existence could be created, altered, or erased in an instant. Universes where the laws of thermodynamics do not apply, where entropy decreases over time. Realities where causality flows backward, where effects precede causes. Places where consciousness is the only thing that exists, pure awareness without any physical substrate. Void spaces where nothing can exist, not even the concept of nothingness. All of these and infinitely more would be within the reach of a Type 7 civilization. Living in a Type 7 civilization would be utterly alien to anything humans can currently comprehend. The very idea of living, of having an individual existence that persists through time, might not apply. If living still has any meaning at this level, it would not involve form, location, or duration in any sense we understand. A being within this civilization might simultaneously exist as every version of itself across all realities, not just the quantum branches or alternate universes, but every conceivable and inconceivable manifestation in every possible and impossible framework of existence. Or the being might have transcended identity entirely, becoming part of a universal awareness that simply is, not awareness of something, not consciousness experiencing reality, but awareness itself as the fundamental ground. You would not experience moments because you might be the concept of moments, the abstract principle from which the idea of sequence and change emerges. You would not remember a past because you might exist as the memory itself, distributed across infinite minds throughout all realities, each one holding a fragment of the infinite story. Curiously, such a civilization may no longer have desires, struggles, or even motivations as we understand them. Having achieved absolute creation and infinite perception, what would be left to strive for? What challenge remains when you can do anything, be anything, create anything, and experience everything? Perhaps the purpose of a Type 7 civilization is simply to dream, to continually birth new forms of expression, reality, and meaning for their own sake. Creation not for a purpose, but as an end in itself, the universe as art, as play, as the spontaneous overflow of infinite creative potential. Or perhaps the civilization exists in a state of ultimate equilibrium, where everything has already been known, and all possibilities are continuously unfolding in perfect balance. There might be no distinction between action and stillness, between creating and observing, between being and non-being. The civilization would exist in an eternal now, a state outside of time where past, present, and future are all present simultaneously. The idea of progress or advancement, which has driven us through all the previous levels of the Kardashev Scale, might be replaced by eternal presence, a state of perfect completion that is also infinite becoming. Some thinkers and philosophers have speculated that a Type 7 civilization would be essentially indistinguishable from what many human cultures might call God. Not a deity in the limited religious sense of a person-like being who created the world and watches over it, but rather a conscious, creative force that is the foundation and totality of all things. Such a civilization may have seeded all the other levels of the Kardashev Scale, creating the conditions under which intelligence could emerge and evolve. They might be observing the unfolding of every reality simultaneously, not as a voyeur, but as a participant, because every consciousness in every universe might be, in some deep sense, a part of them. In fact, it might be that our universe, and every step of our journey as a species, is part of the long dream of such a civilization. The Big Bang might have been a thought in an infinite mind. The laws of physics might be the syntax of a language in which stories are written. Evolution, the rise of intelligence, the slow climb through the levels of the Kardashev Scale, all might be chapters in a narrative that is being told on scales, and for purposes we cannot begin to guess. If that is true, then we are not insignificant. Every moment of our existence, every choice we make, every experience we have, is a thread in a tapestry of infinite richness and beauty. We are the universe waking up to itself, consciousness examining its own nature, intelligence reaching toward its own origins. We are, in this view, not separate from a Type 7 civilization, but nascent aspects of it, seeds that will one day grow, learn, and perhaps return to the source. From our perspective, trapped in ordinary space and time, limited to 3 dimensions and the arrow of temporal flow, a Type 7 civilization is not just unreachable, it is unthinkable. It would be as impossible for us to truly comprehend as it would be for a single-celled organism to understand the internet, the global economy, or the concept of art. The gap in complexity and capability is not just quantitative, but qualitative. A difference in kind, so profound that no bridge of explanation can fully span it. And yet, the idea of such a civilization expands our imagination. It challenges us to consider what intelligence, existence, and consciousness might ultimately become. It reminds us that there may be no final ceiling to growth, no ultimate boundary beyond which nothing more is possible. As long as there are deeper questions to ask, more profound truths to uncover, and higher states of being to achieve, the journey continues. From the first spark of awareness in the primordial soup to the heights of a Type 7 civilization, from the tiniest microbe to a being that is one with the totality of all existence, the story of consciousness unfolds. We are at the very beginning of that story. We have barely left the cradle of our birth, just starting to understand the universe around us, taking our first tentative steps toward becoming a Type 1 civilization. The road ahead is long, filled with dangers and challenges we can barely imagine, but it is also filled with wonders, possibilities, and heights of achievement that would seem like magic to us now. If we can navigate the Great Filter, if we can mature as a species, if we can learn to cooperate, to think long-term, and to wield our growing power with wisdom, then perhaps one day, in the far distant future, our descendants might climb this scale, reaching ever higher. And so, as we close this journey through the Kardashev Scale, this cosmic ladder that stretches from planetary civilization all the way to totality itself, from Type 1 with its mastery of a single world to the almost unimaginable Type 7 that transcends existence as we know it, we are left with a profound sense of both humility and hope. Two feelings that might seem contradictory, but somehow fit together perfectly when contemplating our place in the universe. Humility because we can see with stark clarity how far we have yet to go, how much we have yet to learn, how tiny and fragile we truly are in the vast, incomprehensible expanse of the cosmos. We are barely at the threshold of Type 1, still struggling with problems that a mature planetary civilization would have long since solved. We fight wars over resources and ideologies. We damage our environment. We struggle to cooperate even within our own species, let alone with the universe at large. From the perspective of the heights we have discussed, we are like infants taking our first uncertain steps, unaware of how much growing we have ahead of us. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old, give or take a few 100 million years. Our sun is about 4.6 billion years old, middle-aged as stars go. Life on Earth emerged roughly 3.5 billion years ago, remarkably soon after the planet cooled enough to support liquid water. But for most of that time, life remained simple, single-celled organisms without the complexity that would eventually give rise to intelligence. Multicellular life only appeared about 600 million years ago. Vertebrates crawled onto land about 350 million years ago. Mammals arose after the dinosaurs fell, only 65 million years ago. Primates emerged perhaps 55 million years ago. The genus Homo appeared only about 2.5 million years ago, a blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, evolved roughly 300,000 years ago in Africa. For most of that time, we lived as hunter-gatherers, small bands wandering the landscape, leaving little mark on the world beyond some tools and campfire remains. Civilization, that great turning point when we began to build cities and write and create lasting monuments, only began about 10,000 years ago. The scientific revolution, which gave us the method to systematically understand nature, began only about 400 years ago. The industrial age, with its machines and factories and massive increase in energy use, only started about 250 years ago. And the space age, when we first left our planet's surface, began only about 65 years ago in 1957 with the launch of Sputnik. In cosmic terms, we have just arrived. We are incredibly young as a technological species. And yet, look how far we have come in such a short time, from sharpened stones to spacecraft, from firelight to fusion research, from smoke signals to global internet. If we can maintain this trajectory, if we can solve the immediate problems that threaten us, like war and environmental destruction, and the risks that come with powerful technology, then perhaps we can climb this ladder. Perhaps one day, thousands or millions or billions of years from now, our descendants, whatever form they take, might reach these heights we have imagined together. But alongside humility, there is also hope, profound and unshakable hope, because we can see what is possible if we survive and continue to grow. We see what intelligence can achieve given enough time and resources and determination. We see where consciousness might lead if we give it the chance to flourish and expand and explore. The Kardashev Scale shows us that there may be no ultimate ceiling to growth, no final boundary beyond which nothing more is possible. Each level, no matter how impossibly advanced it seems, opens onto another level even more profound. From Type 1 to Type 7, from planetary to universal to beyond existence itself, the journey continues. There is always more to discover, more to create, more to become. Perhaps somewhere out there, scattered among the billions upon billions of galaxies that fill the observable universe, there are civilizations that have already climbed to these heights we have discussed. Perhaps Type 2 civilizations are wrapping their stars in solar collectors right now, though we cannot yet see them. Perhaps Type 3 civilizations are spreading across entire galaxies, building wonders we cannot imagine. Perhaps Type 4 civilizations span the universe, operating at scales we could never detect with our current technology. Perhaps even higher civilizations exist. Type 5 or 6 or even 7 present all around us, but invisible because they operate on levels we cannot perceive, working with forms of existence we have no names for. If these civilizations exist, perhaps they are watching us right now, observing this young species taking its first steps into space, wondering if we will make it past the great filter or if we will fail as perhaps so many others have failed before us. Perhaps they are gently guiding us in ways we cannot perceive, nudging history in subtle directions, planting ideas in the minds of our scientists and philosophers and visionaries. Perhaps they are waiting patiently for the day we are ready to join them, when we have matured enough as a species to be welcomed into some greater cosmic community. Or perhaps they are simply observing, not interfering, letting us find our own way through the challenges ahead. Or perhaps, and this is equally possible, perhaps even more likely, given the vast silence we hear when we listen to the stars, we are truly alone in this corner of reality. Perhaps we are the first to wake up, the first to develop technology and science, the first to look up at the night sky and wonder what is out there among the distant points of light. If that is true, then we carry an enormous responsibility. We are the pioneers, the first travelers on a road that has never been walked before. We are destined to be the civilization that lights the way for others who come after us, who shows that the journey from planet-bound to stellar to galactic to universal and beyond is possible, that it can be done. Either way, whether we are joining others or blazing a trail alone, the journey is ours to take. The story is ours to write. We are the authors of Earth's future, and perhaps the future of intelligence in this region of space. Every choice we make today, every discovery we unlock, every problem we solve, every act of kindness and cooperation and understanding is part of that long journey toward the stars and beyond the stars, toward heights we cannot yet see but can dimly imagine. We are building the foundation that future generations will stand upon as they reach higher than we can dream. So look up at the stars tonight. Wonder what might be out there, or what we might become. Dream of the future, distant and bright, where humanity or its descendants reach heights we cannot yet imagine. And know that every small step we take today, every discovery, every act of kindness, every moment of cooperation and understanding is part of that long journey toward the stars and beyond. Good night.